Yeah, I can't hear you at all, Dante. I'm sorry to say that. Can't hear you at all, man. Hey guys, I'm back. Sorry about that. Hey Heidi, how's it going?
Hello? Oh, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you. I had to grab some water. So yeah, welcome to class.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Hey Saul, how's it going?
Well, how are you, Farham?
Good, good. I'm doing well. Thanks for joining the class.
Hi, Heidi.
Hello.
Hey Dante, can you speak? Maybe we can hear you. I think something's wrong with Dante's mic. I think some reason we can't hear him. Can you guys hear him at all?
I can hear you.
No, I can hear.
Dante?
You, Dante.
No, I can't. I can't.
Yeah. I think something is wrong with his mic. Dante, sorry once again, man. Something's going on. So, Heidi and Saul, how are your days? How was your Thursday?
Today is still hot, like summer season.
Really?
Yeah.
Same here.
Already. But
Yeah.
Hot temperature, high temperature is very good for me. Now my arm is very thick, right? By cast. So I tried a lot of long sleeves, but I can't wear it.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So now I'm wearing a sleeveless or half sleeve. So the place is wide, so I can wear it easily.
Nice, nice. That's good. And Saul, did you do anything interesting?
Well, the only interesting thing was I get a cold.
You got a cold?
Yeah, I am sick, very sick.
Hey, so you should maybe not speak then. If you do you think you can speak in class? If you're
I can speak only I am a little, I don't know how to say in English when you have your voice more tough.
I guess you have if you have a sore throat, your voice is weaker, right?
Yes.
So, but anyway, yeah. If we're speaking too quickly or if you need more time, Saul, let me know, okay?
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no problems. So, guys, let's get started with the question that I had for you today. So today we're going to be talking about a very sad situation, actually, a very sad news story that is not really heard about that much in the world because people tend to not mention news from this country. It's a very small country. It's almost insignificant in the larger kind of understanding of international politics in the Middle East. So this story really hasn't been reported in many places. And we're going to talk about governments that are imprisoning their people because of their political beliefs, because of all sorts of different reasons. And in particular, we will look at one country. And for the grammar, we will be discussing hypotheticals as well as propositions of essentially hypotheticals which serve as propositions of statements based on hypotheses, right? We will just take a look at what hypotheticals are. Before we begin, though, Dante, you're back. Can you maybe speak? Let's see if we can hear you. Can't hear you, Dante. I'm really sorry. If you're speaking. I know, but we can't hear you, unfortunately. So
I have a question that I wanted to ask to Heidi.
yeah.
Heidi, why your name is pronounced Heidi and not Hyde?
Huh? Name, my name?
Yes?
Huh? What?
I don't understand the pronunciation. Why is pronounced Heidi and not Hyde?
My real name is Hideko. So before I named Hide, but it's some strange, so I changed Hyde.
Don't know. Okay.
That's a nice way of thinking about it, actually. I remember, Heidi, when you first joined my class, I called you Hide for the first, like, 3 classes.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to, Saul, I had the same thing. I was looking at the name, and I was pronouncing it Hide, or Haide, I think, once even. But then eventually I got I remembered, no, her name is Heidi, so that's how I kind of understood.
Yeah, the teacher called me Hide. Sometimes I listen with the other students. So
yeah.
Hide is different, so it's easy to understand for me.
Nice, nice. No, it's a good choice. So let's get started, guys. What are hypotheticals, right? Hypotheticals are statements that we base on a hypothesis, right? A hypothesis is something that when we talk about things that didn't actually happen, right? We talk about things that we wish had happened, maybe, or just things that didn't happen in reality, but that we are talking about as if they happened in reality, right? So the first construction when we talk about a hypothetical statement or a hypothetical is we use the subject and then we use a modal verb, something like should or could or might. And then we use a verb and a past participle, right? So usually it's have and then a past participle. So that's the first way that we create a hypothetical statement, right? Hypothetical statement is when once again, when we do not, and we're talking about something that did not happen in reality, right? So for example, let's say I tell Heidi, Heidi, you could have been more careful when your nephew pulled your arm.
Yeah.
Right? You
Yes.
could have been more careful, right? It didn't happen in reality. Heidi was, it was an accident, right? But when Heidi broke her arm, it was an accident. But because I'm talking about something that didn't happen in reality, I can use a hypothetical statement, right? You could have been as a past participle, more careful, right? So.
But I couldn't.
But you couldn't, exactly. What about, so let's say somebody is really sick, right? So Saul, I can tell you, Saul, you should have been resting all day today, because you're sick, right? So you should have been resting, or you should have seen the doctor, right? So it's the verb that we usually see in these examples is have, right? You should have, you could have, right? You could have seen the doctor. So these are hypothetical statements, right? So give me an example, Heidi, of a hypothetical statement using a hypothetical statement that you could tell somebody who lost his computer.
Lost computer?
Like
No.
lost his laptop.
Laptop. Oh.
Yeah.
You should have. You should have put the computer different place.
Yeah, you should have put the computer in a different place, right?
Yeah.
Saul, what could you say to somebody who lost their laptop?
You should have to fix the problem. Fixes the problem.
Well, yeah, that works, but I mean, think about how somebody would, let's say somebody loses their laptop, they come to you, Saul, I can't believe it, I lost my laptop, what do I do? How can I prevent something? I mean, what can I do? You know, he's all worried, right? He's all sad.
How about the negative?
Yeah, you can use negatives.
You shouldn't have rented your computer to him.
Yeah, you shouldn't have lent your computer to him, right? That's one example. Saul, we can say, for example, you should have locked your computer, your laptop, with a lock, right?
Okay.
Because
you might have checked your room. Maybe it's there.
Yeah, you might have checked your room to see if it was there, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a good example, right? Because all of these examples, we're talking about things that didn't actually happen. We are just imagining, oh, what if he did do this? What if he could do this? What if he should do this? Right? So before we go on, hey Laura, how's it going?
Hello. I'm fine, thank you.
Good, welcome to class. We can hear you this time.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Laura, we are talking about hypothetical statements, right? And hypothetical statements we use to talk about things that didn't actually happen. What could you tell somebody, hypothetically, if they lost their laptop, for example? What could you tell them after they come to you and say, oh my God, I can't believe I lost my laptop?
You
should
have...
go ahead, I'm sorry, go ahead, yeah.
You should have known if you let your laptop at work, it will be lost.
You should have known if you left your laptop at work, it wouldn't have been lost, right?
Okay.
You should have this is a longer sentence, but it's a good sentence, right? You should have known that if you left your laptop at work, it would still be here, or it would still be there, right? Or it wouldn't have been lost. It wouldn't have been lost, right? You should have known that if you left your laptop at work, it wouldn't have been lost, right? So this actually maybe has two hypotheticals in it, because well, no, actually, wouldn't is not a hypothetical. So it just has the one hypothetical, but it's giving a more big idea about the second part of the situation. So it wouldn't have been lost. Any questions on this first part, guys? When we use could, should, or might, or one of these words?
In what sentence? In what sentence is that grammar?
In what sentence is what, Saul? I'm sorry?
In what sentence? Tense. In what tense is the grammar in past?
In what sentence? In what tense is the grammar in the past?
No, that grammar about the about the supposed. I want to know the tense.
The tense of this last grammar piece, of this last sentence?
Yes.
Well, the tense is still, we're talking about a hypothetical with a past participle, right? So I don't know if there is a specific tense for this sentence. It's just that we are saying, we're using a modal verb, so should, could, might, those are modal verbs, right? And we are using them to create a hypothetical statement. I don't think this actually has a tense, really. I don't know, it's not really present tense, it's not really past tense. The verb itself is followed by a past participle, so that's the closest I can think of in terms of tense.
But it mentioned about the past, right?
It's talking about the past, yeah. It's talking about something that didn't actually happen, but that you know you could have done differently, right? Yeah. So it's generally talking about the past, Saul. I think to answer your question, it is talking about the past, but it's not a pure past tense sentence, right? It has the modal in it, and it also has a past participle in it.
But now you can't change. But if you had thought about more, maybe it happened better like that, right? So it means the content is about the past.
Yeah, so the content is definitely about the past. Yeah, that's the most important thing about these hypotheticals, because when you talk about something that didn't actually happen, you had to know what actually did happen, right? So it inherently, naturally, we are talking about the past, but it's not a pure past tense. It's not a pure tense really that I can think of. It's just past participle modal about something in the past used in a hypothetical statement. So I know it's a little crazy, Sal. Did that answer your question?
A little bit, but I am fine.
Yeah, it's a hard question, honestly, Sal. But think about it as being in the past. I think in general, just because we are now learning this for the first time, we should think about this as something that is happening in the past.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to think about this. So another example, guys, of when we use a hypothetical statement, we use the word wish, right? We use the word wish to talk about situations that are not true and not likely to become true, right? So we use wish in two ways, right? We use wish, for example. The first construction is if we have something like this. If we have a subject plus wish and then had and then a past participle, right? I wish I had gone to, I wish I had gone to a better university. Yeah.
I wish I had. I wish I had. Subject plus wish plus subject plus had.
Or you can also say, I guess that works. Yeah, you had subject plus wish plus a subject plus had, right?
Yeah.
You can also that works, right? Because if you are saying if you are changing from wish to had, then you have to have another subject in the middle, right? So let me modify this construction real quick. That's a good catch, Heidi. Subject plus I wish I had, so another subject, and then had, and then a past participle, right? So I wish I had learned Spanish when I was a child, right? It didn't really happen. We're talking about something that didn't actually happen, that aren't true, and that aren't likely to become true, right? So that's the first example. Laura, can you give me an example of a sentence using this construction?
I wish you had bought that other model car.
I wish you had bought that other model of car. Fantastic, right? So it's something that isn't true, right? I didn't buy that model of car, right? And it's something that's not likely to become true because I already bought the car, right? So at this point you're saying, oh, I wish you had done that, right? So once again, we are talking about something that has passed, that has happened in the past, and that, we are using a past participle for that example as well, right? So great job with that, Laura. What about Saul? Can you give me an example?
I wish had to eat a soup.
I wish I had. It has to be the past participle, though, Saul. So instead of eat, it would be
Eaten.
Yeah, right. I wish.
I wish had eaten a soup.
Well, I wish, and then you have to have another subject.
Let me see.
So it would be the same subject, right? I wish. Blank.
Wish.
Just you can say this. You can say the same subject you have in the beginning again.
I wish I had eaten a soup.
Fantastic. I wish I had eaten the soup, right? Maybe because you're sick, I think it would be a good idea to have soup, right? Soup makes you Soup makes you full. It makes you feel better, right? I wish I had eaten the soup, right? Fantastic. And Heidi, one example from you.
Okay, I wish I hadn't fallen down on the street 2 weeks ago.
I wish I hadn't fallen down on the street 2 weeks ago. Excuse me, guys. Sorry about that. Great. I think you guys all did a great job with that. So using wish, had, and then another subject, or I wish, and then a subject, and then had, and then a past participle, right? That's one example.
If you had broken down, I can say, I wish you hadn't fallen down on the street, right?
Yeah, I wish you hadn't fallen down on the street, exactly. So you can use both examples that way, right? And there's actually another way, guys, that we use wish to talk about a sentence, right? To talk about a hypothetical situation. We can use a wish, or a subject plus wish, plus object, plus a verb in the past, plus a complement, right? So this is kind of a serious issue. I wish you, for example, I wish you liked Chinese food, right? I wish you liked Chinese food. So here, really the way we're thinking about it in this example is that second, and honestly, guys, to be honest with you guys, even in the first example, when we had subject, wish, and then I wrote subject a second time, it's actually better to think of that second subject as an object, right? Because it is receiving the action. So if you say, I wish you, for example, I wish you hadn't broken your arm, that you is actually an object, right? It's not really a subject. So that was my mistake. In the first construction, I wrote subject plus wish plus subject. I should have written subject plus wish plus object, right? So in this case, think about the second subject as the object, right? I wish you, for example, I wish you went to the mall yesterday, right? It's not a very clean sentence. It's something that we don't really use as native speakers, but it's another way that we can use wish to talk about something in something hypothetical, right? So what is the difference between this sentence and the sentence before? The sentence before, we had the past participle. Here we just have a verb in the past tense, and then we give a complement, right? For example, I wish you liked going to the mall. I think that's a better example because you have to use a complement, right? I wish you liked going to the mall. Let's say you're going with a friend and you guys have plans that you want to go out, right? But all of a sudden, your friend says you wanted to go to the mall all day, right? You were so excited, but your friend hates to go shopping, right? So your friend takes you to maybe the movies, right? After you can say, man, I wish you liked going to the mall, right? There's something that didn't happen, but you're saying hypothetically you would have liked that to be the case, right? So that's another way that we use wish. Heidi, do you think you can give me an example?
I wish I can drink alcohol.
I wish I can. Well, it's a verb in the past, though, right?
Past? I could.
Yeah. I wish I could drink alcohol.
Alcohol.
That's one way to think about it. Yeah, that's one way to think about it. Remember, we want to think about a complement, right? So a complement would be indicating a preference, right? For example, I wish you liked going shopping, right? I wish you liked going to the mall. I wish you enjoyed going to the movies, right? So the complement is the verb really has something to do with liking something, disliking something, that kind of a situation. It makes it a little bit better. But what you said was fine, right?
Yeah. Then I wish you I wish you enjoy my participant in this lesson.
Yeah, right? That's a great example. Laura, can you give me an example using this construction?
I wish you had a nice birthday.
I wish you had a nice birthday, right? So Laura, you gave me an example of the construction number 1. right? You used had and you used past participle. Or actually, you just used had, right? You used had and no past participle. Would it be possible to make a sentence using the construction that's in number 2, construction number 2, where you are using a subject, then the word wish, then the object, then a verb just in the past tense? So, for example, I wish you liked going to birthdays. You know, this is something that you're, think about something that you're telling somebody. You have plans to go on a trip, and then or you have plans to do something, and then after you find out that your friend doesn't want to do that, what would you say to that person? You know, that's a little bit of a different way of thinking about it. So, do you think you can give me that example? You can try.
Okay, I will try.
Yeah, yeah. This is a tough lesson, guys. It's a tough lesson. Yeah.
I wish you liked the same music I listen.
I wish you liked the same music I listen, and you're missing one word, one preposition. At the very end, you have to say something after listen.
I'm listening to.
Fantastic. I wish you liked the same music I listen to. Fantastic, right? Because, let's say you go to a party with somebody, you really like them, but they hate your type of music, right? So now you're saying, I wish you liked the music that I listen to, the type of music I listen to, right? Great job. And last but not least, Saul, can you give me an example of this type of construction?
Yes. I wish you luck in the test of tomorrow.
I wish you... What was the last part of it?
I wish you luck in your test tomorrow.
I wish you luck on your test tomorrow.
On your test tomorrow.
On your test tomorrow, right? So that is actually something that is more future tense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the thing with it's good. I'm glad you brought that example, Saul. But when we talk about something that is hypothetical, we are mainly talking about something that are not true or not likely to be true, right? So unless you think the person is going to do poorly on the exam, right? It doesn't work. It doesn't work totally in your favor, right? To use that to use that construction in a hypothetical form. So if we made it in the past tense, what would that sentence be? If we just switched it from future to past.
I wish you. Let me think.
Go ahead, absolutely. We might have to change the verb because it's going to be difficult. It's going to be a little bit difficult to use the same verb that you had.
I wish you pushed you in the corner.
I wish you. I'm sorry. Pushed.
I wish you pushed you on the corner.
I wish you pushed yourself in the corner.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Just an example. Just an example. Okay. No. Okay. Let's try to work with that. Let's try to work with that. I wish you.
I wish you pushed you. Pushed you.
Pushed you. So we would have to use push to yourself, right? Because if you're talking about somebody pushing themselves, it's a reflexive, right? So it's a reflexive verb. So we would have to say, I wish you pushed yourself into the corner. You must really not like this person. This is like you're talking to an enemy. Okay, no. Let's think about this. I wish you pushed yourself. Okay, let's think about, can we change the verb to be a verb that is a complement? A verb that allows you to say that you prefer something, you don't prefer something, you like something, you don't like something. Let's change the verb, and I think you'll get it.
I wish you. I wish you had a nice day.
I wish you had a nice day. That doesn't work because what's the past participle in that?
Yeah. Yes.
We don't have one, right? This is difficult. This is difficult, Saul. But let me help you. Let me help you. So let's say I wish you. That part is perfect, right? Subject plus wish plus an object, right? I wish you, and then let's choose a verb that talks about giving. That talks about a compliment, right? That talks about doing something that is liking something or hating something. You know, that kind of an idea. Like we heard with Laura, right? Laura said, I wish you enjoyed the music I listened to, right? So you're talking to somebody. You find out that they have a different taste than you do. This is what you can say to them after that. Yeah.
I wish you drank this beverage that I made.
That's really good. I wish you drank the beverage that I made, right?
Yeah.
I wish, or you can even say, I wish you liked drinking the beverage that I made or that I make. You can keep it all in the present, right? Let's say you're at a party and you're inviting everybody, and you made this beverage for everybody, but one person didn't drink it, right? One person doesn't like it. I wish you liked this beverage that I made.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? So that's a good way of thinking about it. I know it's a little bit complicated, but it's still a good way of thinking about it.
We can use it for future, no? Can we use it?
Well, it's a verb in the past, right? So how would you think of doing it in the future?
Because I can't drink alcohol at all. I'm allergic. So, but tomorrow I have party. Then I wish I can drink alcohol tomorrow.
I wish I can drink alcohol tomorrow. It's perfectly fine, but it's not a hypothetical, right? The idea of a hypothetical is it's something that is not true and not likely to become true, right? So if you're going to drink tomorrow, then it's likely to become true, right? You're already saying
kind of hypothetical because I can't drink any alcohol at all.
Today, but you're planning on doing it tomorrow, right?
Even tomorrow, I think.
Even tomorrow? Okay.
Whole life.
In your whole life. That's in that case, yes, exactly. If you're speaking in almost like you're imagining something, like you're dreaming about something, like you're wishing something for the future, then we can use that. And I don't honestly know what the hypothetical in that sense would look like. To a native speaker, it all makes sense. Honestly, to a native speaker, it all makes sense. I, as a native speaker, I never think, oh, am I using had plus past participle? No, I never think that way, right? I just say what I want to say, you know, and it's all correct. It's all correct from a grammar perspective, right? But it has this additional feature of talking about what we think is not likely to be true or what is not true. This is perhaps one example of hypotheticals.
Okay.
Right? I don't know if this discussion is talking about all types of hypotheticals, right? So, and it's a complicated lesson, guys. This is a very complicated lesson. Laura, your question or your sentence. I wish you didn't like the flat you are seeing.
It's okay, or no?
No, it looks good. By flat, do you mean like an apartment?
Yes.
Okay, so it's how British people say English, right? Because flat in America is no one knows what that means. People in the U.S. flat is like this, like it's flat.
Yeah, but it was shorter, so I choose flat.
Yeah, no, it's nice. It's a nice way of thinking about it, right? In the U.S. we say apartment or we say house, right? But flat is British. It's still English. That's perfectly fine. So I wish you didn't like the flat you are seeing. So so you're saying maybe somebody is looking at different flats for maybe to move into, right? And then
I don't want that person move, so.
Yeah, that's a good way of using the hypothetical in the past tense like this, right? Honestly, you know, when people say hypothetically speaking, whatever, right? People are talking about a situation that they are almost just imagining what could be a possibility, right? To me, that's what I mean when I say hypothetical. Something that's hypothetical is something that is possible. We don't know if it's true or not, right? And it can happen in the present, it can happen in the past, it can happen in the future. I don't know why we're emphasizing so much on the past in this particular lesson, but I think we can think about it in also the present and also the future. Right? Just to bring that kind of full circle, because this is a little bit tougher lesson. Any questions, guys, on what we have looked at so far, these different types of construction?
No question.
No questions? I know. It's complicated, guys. It's complicated for a native speaker, okay? Because I don't look at this grammar from a construction perspective. I look at it from a, does it sound correct? Does it sound logical perspective? And everything you guys said, most of it was definitely logical, and some of it we were. I think Saul, the only one that I didn't really understand was, I wish you pushed yourself in a corner.
Yeah.
It was a good example, but I was thinking, what is Saul saying on that? You know. So, good job with that. Good job for making us all laugh. We need that sometimes, right? So, okay, fantastic, guys. Let us take a quick look then at the article for today. And today's article is actually, unfortunately, it's a sad article because we look at situations involving people who are being jailed for, you know, various reasons, right? So this is the article that we're going to look at. It is actually from a newspaper in Russia. I think it's Russian Times, something like that, right? I enjoy reading newspapers from different countries, and Russia is a very important country, so we can look at that article. I'll also screen share, guys, so we can see what we are reading about. Do you guys all see the article?
Yeah.
Okay. So we are talking about a country in the Middle East called Bahrain, right? Bahrain is between Iran and Saudi Arabia. It's very close to Saudi Arabia. And recently this country had a major political uprising. You know, many people in Bahrain want more rights for themselves. They want more rights for their future, you know, for their future generation, and they want a democracy, right? So the government of Bahrain decided to jail 95 activists for a total of 808 years, right? So 95 people got jailed for a total of 808 years, right? It's a long time. I don't know if anybody can actually live that long, but I remember last time when I was looking at, you know, articles of people that were jailed, this is actually a long time for even 95 people together to have this many years that are jailed, right? So let's start the article here. In a mass show trial in 6 separate cases, 95 Bahraini protesters were sentenced to between 3 and 15 years in prison for allegedly trying to topple the country's constitutional monarchy, organizing bombings, and inciting anti-government rallies. There is no clear vision within the government authorities on how to solve this crisis, Jawad Fayrouz, former member of Bahraini parliament, told RT. Still, they want to use the iron fist to crack down against all uprisings and detain all the activists and put such harsh sentences with this unfair trial. Fayrouz said that many popular human rights activists were among the 95 individuals receiving a total of 808 years behind bars. It was so clear it was not a fair trial, not a justice. It is just a political message to first of all to the opposition, that the government will continue with their hardline action against the opposition, and at the same time to the international community, because everyone knows 2 weeks ago there was a clear condemnation of violation of human rights in Bahrain, after 47 countries, including the allies of Bahraini government, the United States, issued that statement at the UN Human Rights Council. The 95 people were reportedly jailed in 6 separate cases across the country, Bahrain Mirror reports. In one of the cases, 50 activists were convicted, 20 of them in absentia, said Mohammed al-Maskati, head of the Bahrain Youth Society for Human Rights. A judicial source said 16 defendants were handed 15-year terms, while 4 others were jailed for 10 years, and the other 30 were sentenced to 5 years. The defendants include Iraqi cleric Hadi al-Mudarrisi, were charged with forming the February 14 Revolution Youth Coalition, which Bahraini authorities accuse of terrorism. the Bahrain Center for Human Rights told Reuters that human rights campaigners were among those convicted under the internationally criticized and vague terrorism law. So when we see here, right, we see people in Bahrain, they have these signs that are saying stop, torture, bloodshed, dictatorship, discrimination, killings, dictatorship in Bahrain, stop, right? And it's saying all these other things, stop dictatorship in Bahrain. It's a pretty powerful message, right? It's a pretty powerful message to the people, to the government of this country, that what the people want is very different from what the government is giving them, right? And when we look at, I guess, what this means for the country's future, right? 95 people, some of them very prominent people, teachers, doctors, right? One of the crazy things that happened in Bahrain was they had these uprisings, right? So people were protesting in the streets, people were throwing stuff at the police. You know, they were, I mean, they are protesters, so they are resisting the government, right? They're resisting the government forces. Doctors who went to help some of these protesters who were injured, right? Maybe the protesters had, you know, bloody noses, bloody faces, bloody arms, bodies were hurt. The doctors who were treating those people are also jailed, right? I mean, it doesn't make sense, right? A doctor's job is to take care of anybody. It doesn't matter if he's a protester or the police, right? But in Bahrain, the government has been extremely strict against the protesters and anybody who helped the protesters. Anybody. Doesn't matter if it was doctors, nurses, anybody who helped them when they were injured, when they were sick, are also being thrown into jail, right? What do you guys think about this? I mean, does this seem odd to you? Does this surprise you guys? I mean, let's start with Heidi, if that's okay.
For example, the parents help the protester, but how about that parent? Even they need to go in jail.
For the parents?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it doesn't matter. One of these doctors has like 3 kids, and his wife is also a doctor. They're both in jail.
Oh, very strict.
Yeah, right? Laura, what do you think about this?
Well, I don't know very well this case, things, but if it's unfair that they are in prison, well, I don't know. That is like it's happening all around the world. That kind of stuff. I would like we could do something, but it's like we just reading you. We know this fact, but I think we can't do anything. Well, I'm just glad to God because I don't have to suffer these kind of things till now. But I don't know. Maybe in the future, maybe I don't know. Maybe that could happen in my country. So I don't know.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not.
I hope not, but
I can't understand what are they protesting for?
You know, it's a very good question, Heidi. They want democracy in that country, right? It's a very small country, and it's ruled by kings. It's ruled by very powerful royal family, right? The royal family is very rich, has a lot of power, and the United States is really probably the biggest ally of the Bahraini government, right? And the other problem with Bahrain really is that the rulers of Bahrain are there's a religious difference also. The population is they are Shia Muslims. The rulers are Sunni Muslims, right? So a very similar situation to what we saw in Iraq, for example. Saddam Hussein was Sunni. The entire government was Sunni. However, the people were mostly Shia, right? People were mostly Shia. So as a result, this was something that was a very difficult thing for people in Iraq, the Iraqi people wanted democracy because they wanted the government to represent the people, right? The government, however, in Bahrain represents just the royal family. It doesn't represent the people, right?
It is a kind of a religion.
It is. I mean, there is a religious difference between the two groups as well. But I think the bigger problem is that the Bahrainis really are not the Bahrainis are really not. They don't care about the religious difference between them and the royal family. I think they care about the fact that for maybe 40 years, 50 years now, their government does not reflect the people. I mean, the government is one family rules the entire country. There's no parliament, really. There's no freedom of speech. There's no freedom of expression, freedom of the press, right? If you write something against the government, they can arrest you. If you speak against the government, they can arrest you, right?
Even Saudi Arabia is a kingdom.
Yeah, they've had protests too, honestly. They've had protests too, but it's been less. It's been less, honestly, over there. I'm writing a lot.
In Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, and the thing is also with Saudi Arabia, they didn't give extremely hard sentences like this, right? Bahrain has really given some extremely harsh sentences. I mean, it's 15 years for somebody who, or how can you jail doctors? I mean, Saul, what's your reaction to this? Saul, are you there?
Yes. You are talking to me?
Yeah. I was wondering, what's your reaction to this?
Well, the people need to keep the fight against the government because it's the only way to remove a government unfair. And that people is sad that is in jail because only they were protesting against the rules. But if the people want to free that people, they need to continue with the fight and the protest. And suddenly, early, I don't know when, the international community should be take cards in the business to do something about that. And another thing that I think is okay. Bar, what is the pronunciation of the town of the city?
Bahrain, the country. Yeah, Bahrain.
Okay, I am seeing that Bahrain don't have democracy. So what is doing the United States? Because the last month I heard from Obama that they want to bring democracy to another country, but there is no democracy in that country. So what is happening in that country? Why only in Syria? Interesting.
You know why? Because Bahrain also is the home of one of the U.S.'s largest naval groups, I should say. The Fifth Fleet. Okay, the Fifth Fleet is a huge fleet of U.S. Navy ships. There are maybe aircraft carriers and destroyers and submarines and, I mean, billions and billions of dollars of weapons. And, I mean, the U.S. Navy, a huge base of the U.S. Navy is in Bahrain, right? So if the Bahraini government is unstable, if people say, Viva la revolución, right? And they cause a problem with the government, and if the government falls, then no one knows what will happen to the United States naval base that is in Bahrain. right? That's a big problem. Syria, there's no base, no one cares. There's no oil, right? Bahrain is so close to Iraq and Iran and Saudi Arabia. All those countries have so much oil, right? And you have so many U.S. ships in Bahrain, right? So the stability of Bahrain is very important. The stability of the Bahraini government is very important for the United States for military reasons, for oil, for for financial reasons, many other reasons like that. It's all about money, man. It's all about money.
I guess.
Right? At the end of the day, right? So let's say, Heidi, let's say you were, hypothetically speaking, okay, hypothetically speaking, let's say you were one of these activists who, or maybe a relative of one of these activists. What would you do if you found out that someone in your family was jailed for 95, or jailed for 15 years for just, being in a crowd and saying, or, for taking part in something that is, in something like a protest? What would you do?
I would have moved. It's okay.
You would have moved.
I would have moved to America. Then I would have pushed forward the government, American government, to change the situation of that country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's always one example, right? That's always one thing we can do. What would you do, Laura? We were saying before, we're very thankful that we don't live in this kind of a society, but what would you do if you had somebody that you knew that was in this, maybe a friend who was arrested and, it was unfair trial, jailed for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? What would you do?
I would say I wish you hadn't gone to that protest.
Fantastic, fantastic, right? Using the wish and the had and the past participle, right? I wish you hadn't gone to that protest, right? But honestly speaking, do you think this is fair, Laura, of what has happened to these people?
No. Now that I knew the story because you tell,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's unfair, or well, we are almost all the country there have democracy, so
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just so unfair because it's like they don't have the opportunity to choose the people that will rule them. So
Yeah.
it's like the basics to a country, they don't have it. So
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, right. The basic rights are lacking for a lot of these people because their government does not reflect the government does not reflect the people, right? So, Saul, if you were in that situation where somebody you knew, right? These are common people. Many of these people are common people. If somebody you knew was involved in a protest like this, what would you do? What would be your reaction?
I will join it to the group of cells against the government, I guess, because I need to fight against that kind of rule. It's the only way, because if you run to another country, you 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 don't be contributing with the cost of free the people.
Mm-hmm.
You need to do something. I guess the only thing that I can do is join me to a group or self or organization to help mm, to that task.
Mm-hmm. So you would join the revolution.
Yes, the revolution.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I think, why do you guys think the world knows so little about this situation? Is it because the country is so small? Is it because nobody cares?
Because the American means is not reporting nothing about that, and everybody's seeing that kind of memes. So if CNN or Fox News or CBS don't report that. No, 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 no nobody. Nobody is going to know about that. That is
Mm-hmm.
the main problem. The 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 press is under control for some people
Yeah,
because
the press is controlled by some people. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, if you turn on the television and you put CNN, you won't see nothing about that. So the people don't know that.
I mean, I think CNN is mostly garbage. You know, CNN is going to show you there was somebody in Florida decided to make the world's largest hamburger, right?
Ah, yes,
See you later, Lara.
or
Oh, yeah.
or militaries do that kind of thing. Ah.
Yeah, exactly, right? It's just, I mean, the news is sensational. The news is not fact-based, right? A lot of the news is not, I mean, there are good programs on CNN also, but if you look at the majority of the channels that are, you know, that are doing the media reporting, it's sensational stuff. It's just, it's trying to get you to enjoy the news. It's trying to get you to just keep watching. They have different things, entertainment, you know, all sorts of things. International news in the United States is a disaster. You know,
Yeah,
nobody knows about international news.
if you want to know the truth about the world or the country, you need
Mm-hmm.
to look for the news by yourself. For example, in the local news website
Mm-hmm.
or in the independent news because the official news is not going to uh, uh, won't show you the truth about the situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree, Saul. You know, it's so difficult, and it's the same situation exists in so many other countries, Latin America, Central America, Africa, Middle East, right? Many of these countries, we see the exact same situation, unfortunately. So,
Unfortunately,
yeah,
unfortunately.
unfortunately, exactly. So, Saul, it was a great class. I know the grammar is much more difficult in this lesson. Did you have any other questions about the things we talked about? I know with the tense. Honestly, hypothetical situations can be presented, I think, now that I think about it, in many tenses, right? You can think about them in present, past, future. In this lesson, we were talking primarily about things that are not likely to happen, things that didn't happen, so the idea was more in the past tense,
Okay,
you know?
yeah.
But did you have any other questions?
I guess the only question I have is in the first grammar.
Mm-hmm.
I see that the let me search this. Okay, the modal verb uh, in this class always we used have like a verb. For
Mm-hmm.
example, I should have drink that. For example,
Mm-hmm.
I I want to know if always we are going to use have.
The thing with have, I think you do have to use it all the time is because you're using that modal, right? We don't usually say in English, I could had, I could have gone. We say I could have, I should have, I would have, right? It's something that goes with that modal. So I would say we would always use have in that example. Yeah.
Okay, and if I use a third person,
Mhm.
I need to use has.
Mhm. So what would be the example then?
For example, Carlos should have done his homework.
Well,
Uh,
actually no. You would still use have, right?
why?
Because when we use would, we would use have. When we use should, we always use have, right? So for example, Saul would have or should have eaten some soup. It still would have.
Okay,
Yeah, even though so has by itself when we use has like he has gone to school, he has eaten the soup, That has we use as when we talk about the present perfect.
Okay. Is
Right.
the same with the three model?
So what would be the example of that?
I don't know. For example, I Carlos might have done his homework.
So yeah, he might have done his homework. That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay. I use have with the three models.
Yes, you're using have with the modal verb. Exactly.
Okay, that's all. Thank you
Yeah.
for
Yeah, no problems. No problem, Sal. I have another class tomorrow. I hope you can make it, and let me know if you have any questions. As always, whenever you see me.
Okay, see you.
Awesome, Sal.
Tomorrow.
Take care. Yeah, take care. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
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 I can hear you.
No, I can hear.
Dante?
To Dante.
No, I can't. I can't.
Yeah. I think something is wrong with his mic. Dante, sorry once again, man. Something's going on. So, Heidi and Saul, how are your days? How was your Thursday?
Today is still hot like summer season.
Really?
Yeah.
Same here.
Already. But
Yeah.
hot temperature, high temperature is very good for me. Now my arm is very thick, right? By cast. So I tried a lot of long sleeves, but I can't wear it.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So now I'm wearing a sleeveless or half sleeve. So the place is wide, so I can wear it easily.
Nice, nice. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
And Saul, did you do anything interesting?
Well, the only interesting thing was I get a cold.
You got a cold?
Yeah, I am sick, very sick.
Hey, so you should maybe not speak then. If you do you think you can speak in class? If you're
I can speak only I am a little, I don't know how to say in English when you had your voice more tough.
I guess if you have a sore throat, your voice is weak. Or a hypothetical is we use the subject and then we use a modal verb, something like should or could or might, and then we use a verb and a past participle, right? So usually it's have and then a past participle. So that's the first way that we create a hypothetical statement, right? Hypothetical statement is when we, once again, when we do not, and we're talking about something that did not happen in reality, right? So for example, let's say I tell Heidi, Heidi, you could have been more careful when your nephew pulled your arm.
Yeah.
Right? You could have been more careful, right? It didn't happen in reality. Heidi was, it was an accident, right? But when Heidi broke her arm, it was an accident. But because I'm talking about something that didn't happen in reality, I can use a hypothetical statement, right? You could have been as a past participle, more careful, right? So.
But I couldn't.
But you couldn't, exactly. What about, so let's say somebody is really sick, right? So Saul, I can tell you, Saul, you should have been resting all day today, because you're sick, right? So you should have been resting, or you should have seen the doctor, right? So it's the verb that we usually see in these examples is have, right? You should have, you could have, right? You could have seen the doctor. So these are hypothetical statements, right? So give me an example, Heidi, of a hypothetical statement using a hypothetical statement that you could tell somebody who lost his computer.
Lost computer?
Like
No.
lost.
I have a question that I wanted to ask to Heidi.
Yeah.
Heidi, why your name is pronounced Heidi and not Hyde?
Huh? Name? My name?
Yes,
Huh? What?
I don't understand the pronunciation. Why is pronounced Heidi and not Hyde?
My real name is Hideko. So before I named Hide, but it's some strange, so I changed Hyde.
Mm, don't know. Okay.
That's a nice way of thinking about it, actually. I remember, Heidi, when you first joined my class, I called you Hide for the first, like, 3 classes.
Yeah.
And because I was trying to, Saul, I had the same thing. I was looking at the name, and I was pronouncing it Hide, or Haide, I think, once even. But then eventually I remembered, no, her name is Heidi, so that's how I kind of
Yeah,
understood.
the teacher called me Hide. Sometimes I listen with the other students. So
Yeah.
Hyde is different, so it's easy to understand for me.
Nice, nice. No, it's a good choice. So let's get started, guys. What are hypotheticals, right? Hypotheticals are statements that we base on a hypothesis, right? A hypothesis is something that when we talk about things that didn't actually happen, right? We talk about things that we wish had happened, maybe, or just things that didn't happen in reality, but that we are talking about as if they happen in reality, right? So the first construction when we talk about a hypothetical statement, or yeah, I can't hear you at all, Dante. I'm sorry to say that. Can't hear you at all, man. Hey guys, I'm back. Sorry about that. Hey Heidi, how's it going?
Hello? Oh, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you. I had to grab some water. So yeah, welcome to class.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Hey Saul, how's it going?
Well, how are you, Farham?
Good, good. I'm doing well. Thanks for joining the class.
Hi, Heidi.
Hello.
Hey Dante, can you speak? Maybe we can hear you. I think something's wrong with Dante's mic. I think some reason we can't hear him. Can you guys hear him at all? Sure, right?
Yes.
So, but anyway, yeah. If we're speaking too quickly or if you need more time, Saul, let me know, okay?
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no problems. So, guys, let's get started with the question that I had for you today. So today we're going to be talking about a very sad situation, actually, a very sad news story that is not really heard about that much in the world because people tend to not mention news from this country. It's a very small country. It's almost insignificant in the larger kind of understanding of international politics in the Middle East. So this story really hasn't been reported in many places. And we're going to talk about governments that are imprisoning their people because of their political beliefs, because of all sorts of different reasons. and in particular, we will look at one country. And for the grammar, we will be discussing hypotheticals as well as propositions of, essentially, hypotheticals which serve as propositions of statements based on hypotheses, right? We will just take a look at what hypotheticals are. Before we begin, though, Dante, you're back. Can you maybe speak? Let's see if we can hear you. Can't hear you, Dante. I'm really sorry. If you're speaking. I know, but we can't hear you, unfortunately. So